Good morning everybody and welcome to another Ditton Works video. Today I'm going to talk about a kind of tragedy really. I own a pair of ProAc Studio 100s which I bought at a reasonable price because somebody had done what I'd consider a fairly poor job of resurrounding these drive units, which are known for perishing. ProAc have modified the recipe on the surround so they don't perish anymore. And this is classic of a lot of speakers. Castle are prone to this, Acoustic Research are, any of this type of foam surround. Now, there was another problem as well. I would have possibly attempted to remove this surround and redo it, but this bass driver didn't actually work. And I tested it, tried, looked in all different ways, so I couldn't actually figure out what was wrong with it. It just didn't work. So I've not particularly well, but absolutely stripped this apart into its component bits to see if we could work out what had happened here. So this is quite interesting. Round on the pole piece you've got this sort of damping material in here which looks exactly the same as the box packaging inside the original cartons. So with this in pieces, what normally happens to a bass unit is a little bit of overextension snaps the lead wires from the terminals. So that was the first place I looked, and these were fine. There was a circuit from there to there all the way up to here. Now this is where I potentially thought the problem was, that coming off the coil the lead wires are soldered and glued to the cone and then covered with a dust cap so you can't see it on the cone. And there's a circuit there, so I thought, okay, let's check from there to the coil, and there's a circuit there as well. And what I've concluded is somewhere in this coil it snapped, but I cannot see it anywhere. So there's continuity all the way up, and the only other thing I could do is start to pick the wire off and unwind it until it breaks, which would indicate where the snap was. But basically these are the component parts really. So you've got the magnet assembly, which on these is an enormous magnet, it's very heavy. Some people call that the motor assembly. This is the chassis, or some people would call the basket. The pole piece, this would be the spider, which would be glued around the voice coil and held in place like so. That whole assembly would then be glued into the chassis. There's wires terminated and you have a functioning drive unit. But unfortunately this one is just a write-off. I mean, someone like Wembley Audio could have probably repaired it for me. I could have probably repaired it, but with the state of this surround, I just thought it was better to buy a new one, which is what I did. And being fussy, I bought a pair. So I've got a matched pair of bass units in my ProAc Studio 100s. And the other one, which does work, I am going to try and get this surround off and have a go at doing it a bit better. But I honestly don't think that's going to be very easy. The trouble with a paper cone is if you use this type of glue, it's just going to tear the paper. I've used various different glues over the years for resurround jobs, and one I've found particularly good, believe it or not, is PVA wood glue, especially on plastic cones or polypropylene cones, that you can really position the surround and get it all lined up centrally before the glue goes off. Okay guys, so that's just a little review for today. I'm still waiting for capacitors to arrive on my Celestium 11 crossovers, and I'll finish that video probably next week.